What are the typical tasks that a Oracle functional consultant takes up? In order to understand the day-to-day duties of Oracle functional consultant, I guess it's a good idea that I first let you understand the different phases of implementing Oracle applications in a typical scenario. Now the phases that I'm showing you here is at a very broad level, just to let you understand the roles and responsibilities of a functional consultant. So for that, I'm going to take you to our notepad over here, and the whole project, in fact before the project, there is something called as a pre-discovery phase. So let's draw a box. You can say something like discovery phase, okay, and then you've got the next one as the implementation phase. Again, it's divided into several phases. So I'm going to write on top implementation phase, and then you've got something called as post implementation phase. Okay, now pardon my handwriting, it's not very good on this slide. Anyway, now in the discovery phase, the kind of Oracle functional consultant takes the role is, there are two kind of consultants. One is a pre-sales consultant, okay, and the pre-sales consultant actually works very closely with functional consultants. Now pre-sales consultant could be the role, or there are different roles such as pre-sales solution architect, who work with the functional consultant to get the Oracle solution in addition to his knowledge. The reason he consults with functional consultant is because these guys would know the expert knowledge of Oracle applications in their functional areas. For example, functional consultant in the finance area, functional consultant in the CRM area or in the procurement area, and so on. So the pre-sales consultant are not expert in all the areas. This is where they require an expert advice. And then pre-sales consultant will work with the client to demonstrate the application functionality, and then he also works with the sales guys to get the logistics of contracts sorted up. So once this activity takes up, and assuming that if it goes in a positive way, this is where the contract gets signed up, contract for implementation or contract for services, okay. And next thing is the implementation starts. So the implementation itself is broken down into several phases. So here you've got something called as a define phase, then you've got an elaborate phase, and then you've got a build phase, and then you've got a test phase, and then a UAT phase, and then go live. So I'm going to write that as define, and then here I'm going to write elaborate, E for elaborate, okay. And then you've got a build phase, then you've got a test phase and a UAT phase, user acceptance testing, and finally at this stage the project goes live. And then you've got the post go live activities, which is also called as business as usual or BAU, okay. Now the pre-sales consultant job ends over here. So pre-sales guy is also a functional consultant, but he is a very highly expert functional consultant who have already implemented several projects, and then he has taken a pre-sales job. So he is basically not hands-on in terms of implementation. That's the reason he works with regular Oracle functional consultants. So pre-sales consultant jobs, as soon as the pre-sales consultant job ends as soon as the contract gets signed with the client for implementation, okay. And the job of functional consultant begins from here, from the define phase. So a regular Oracle functional consultant will implement and the implementation goes on this entire 5 phases. Now what we understood is one type of a functional consultant is a pre-sales consultant itself. So let's say this is one type, and the second type of a functional consultant is a regular implementation consultant. Okay, third type of consultant or a functional consultant comes at the time of testing phase. So you can have a dedicated testers, or you can employ a functional consultant to be testers or people who are helping the testers. So in this entire process you will have two kinds of functional consultant. One is the person who implements Oracle applications right from the define phase to elaboration phase, build phase, and so on. And then another type of consultant, a functional consultant, will come into picture over here. Now this person is called as a tester, but this tester could also be a functional consultant. A person who has got functional background can become a tester, or a functional consultant can temporarily become tester in some scenarios. Okay, so in order to test an application, a person must have a good grip on what's the business scenario, what's been implemented in terms of Oracle applications. Then once the testing gets over, then the next phase of user acceptance testing comes into picture, wherein the testers and functional consultants work directly with the industry's users to test Oracle applications. Okay, and then once a UAT has been successfully performed and a green signal has been given by the end business users, then the project goes live. So once the project goes live, that's where comes the post go live activities, which is where the business as usual, or BAU as I said, activities are performed. Okay, and that's where a support functional consultant will come into picture. So a third kind of a functional consultant, which is a support functional consultant, will come into picture. Okay, so with that being said, as you would see, there are almost like 4 kind of functional consultant we talked about. One is a pre-sales functional consultant. It could be a pre-sales functional consultant or pre-sales solution architect. Second is a delivery functional consultant who delivers the implementation project. And then third is, you can call it as a testing functional consultant. Most of the time this role is not there, but in exceptional scenarios this role of a functional consultant as a tester would be there. And the fourth kind of functional consultant is in the role of a support activities in post go live of the project scenario. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to our presentation and let's quickly discuss the number of responsibilities each of these functional consultants have. Now I have not segregated them, I have just listed them out, and as we go along I'm going to highlight who does that. So the typical tasks that an Oracle functional consultant does are: first is to demonstrate Oracle applications business process flows. So this happens typically in an implementation kind of a role, wherein a delivery based functional consultant will perform these activities and demonstrate the business process flows to end business users. And the second task is to gather business requirement. So as a functional consultant, he's supposed to have a knowledge of Oracle applications, an expert knowledge of Oracle applications, plus an ability to speak to end business users in possibly their language, or I should say in possibly their business language, to get what they are looking for. In other words, to get the business requirements. For example, if your end users are accountants, then as a finance functional consultant, your job is to work with them to understand what is their process of financial accounting at the moment, how do they reconcile their finances at the moment, what is their period ending activities, how do they post the accounting general entries in their ledgers, and so on. So these kind of questions which I just asked, the same things must be asked to the end users, and the way you've got to structure these questions are based on individual modules. So you as a functional consultant will work with the business team to ask these hundreds of questions, and once you have asked these questions, you will get a rough idea as to what exactly their present system does and what they are looking for in future. In other words, what is their as is, and then what do they really want in future. So the business requirement not only discusses the aspect of understanding the as is, but also discusses what the business users are looking for and what are their pain areas. Pain areas could be, for example, the user says that we work in coordination with each other, but there is no trail of who does what. In other words, the auditing cannot be done as to who has updated the accounting, who has posted it to the ledger, and so on. And it's difficult, even though it can be achieved by some means. So that could be one of the pain areas. And then you as a functional consultant, it's your job is to analyze those business requirements and then to architect and map the Oracle solution, which is what is the third duty of a functional consultant in an implementation project. And once that's been done, you present a solution to the end business users. So in order to present a solution in Oracle to end business users, you've got to configure the application setups. So here I'm referring to Oracle e-business suite applications and associated setups that have to be done based on the solution that you're going to provide to the end users. So you configure the application. So for that, a functional consultant must know how to configure Oracle application setups. And then if the standard solution cannot be found, then a Oracle functional consultant will work closely with the technical consultant for a technical solution. So what do we mean by technical solution? If something cannot be mapped into Oracle that the user asked for, that means it could be a customization, or which is what we call it as a gap. So a gap can be solved either by a workaround or by giving a customized solution. So if a customized solution is agreed, then a functional consultant usually doesn't have too much of a technical knowledge. That's where he consult with technical consultants like developers or integration consultants to give a end-to-end customized solution. So he got to have the ability and he got to know the language, how to speak with technical consultants and integration consultants. Usually these consultants will speak a technical language, so as a functional consultant you should be able to translate what you have gathered, the business requirement, into a technical language which should be understood by these technical developers. Once you have a discussion with the technical developer, the technical solution is agreed upon, then a functional consultant works closely with the business users as well as the technical consultants for the design and development of that technical solution. But for this to happen, the solution proposed must be approved by the business users. So again, this is more of a communication kind of a role, wherein a functional consultant liaises with business users and technical consultant to come out with a technical solution and then works towards its development and delivery. So delivery also involves some form of a functional testing. So in this case, he has got to first work with the technical team to design and develop it, and then to test it, and finally he has got to work with the business team to test it at the business team level until they accept it. And that's what is the next point, to test the technical solution and then present to the business users to take their sign off. So these are most of the jobs that a delivery functional consultant does, or which is also called as an implementation functional consultant, and that role is role number 2 over here. Did you see? So this person do those kind of a role across these phases. And the next point here is business as usual support and change management, including looking for continuous improvement. So this person, so here in this point it covers 2 areas. One is business as usual or BAU support. This comes after a project goes live, which is this stage, BAU support. So there is a separate support functional consultant who looks after this. So after a project goes live, the implementation functional consultant will hand over whatever knowledge and collateral he has produced to a support functional consultant, and then the support functional consultant will work with the business team as a post go live activity to troubleshoot issues that comes up, and which is what you call it as supporting Oracle applications. Now this point also talks about change management. So change management is a part of 2 activities. One is obviously a part of implementation, wherein there could be legacy systems which are being changed, and what's being changed, the legacy system is being changed and Oracle applications is coming into picture, which is where change management comes into picture. So as a part of change management, you work with the end business users to let them understand what the changes are coming up. You as a functional consultant will deliver the future business process flows, document each of those activities, and involve the business users. Now I've been using the term business users. You've got different levels of business users. You've got like super users and middle managers, who are also called as end users, and then low key data entry users, or at a clerical level. So you've got different levels of business users. As a functional consultant, you don't have to really work with the last stage of business users like the clerical people or the data entry operators, but you've got to work with the super users and the middle level users, and then there will be someone from the business team who would arrange a person to train the last layer of the end users. So as a functional consultant, you've got to make sure that this change of Oracle applications being implemented must be accepted by the business team. So you've got to make sure that the change is smoothly transitioned. And in fact, it's not a job of one functional consultant. Several people will be involved. You could have a change manager who would be looking after that. There is a change management plan that could be developed, and you've got to go according to that change management plan. A change management plan could be a subset of the main project management plan, or PMP. So a lot of things goes there. So one aspect of change is prior to going live, and second aspect of change is after going live. So what aspect of change comes after going live? There are 2 subsets out there. One is to train the users which were left over while going live. So that is a part of the change. Second is the activities or the areas which were categorized as medium or low priorities, which were left as a part of the Oracle implementation process. They could be taken up in phase 2 of the project implementation. So each of the areas in a Oracle application project must be categorized and prioritized. What is most important to the business, what is medium level importance and what is the least importance activities. Based on that, the most important activities are filtered up and prioritized to first go live in first phase. Then in the second phase, the medium level priorities will be taken up for next phase of go live. Likewise, the whole process gets completed until all the business requirements goes live. So a part of change management, this person can also work a BAU support functional consultant with the implementation or delivery functional consultant to look after the changes that has to be brought in into the next phase of Oracle implementation project, including looking for continuous improvement. So even after a Oracle project has gone live, there could be areas which could be discovered which requires further improvement. So after a project goes live, usually companies will have a way to measure the success of the project, and then to way to measure how the new process implemented is working according to objectives or not. And if there are problems there, those are the problems or pain areas that could be addressed further as a part of the continuous improvement. And those are the things that a support functional consultant has to capture, bring it to the notice of business managers, as well as even the business managers will have to monitor how the application functionality is being performed according to the objectives of the business in terms of achieving the smooth business process flows. If that's not being achieved, that's where there is a room for continuous improvement. And the next task is documentation of Oracle process flows. So this is a job of a delivery functional consultant who is responsible for implementing this whole of process flow over here. Apart from this, if there are process flow changes that comes up later, then it's the job of support functional consultant to update the documents which have been handed over to him by the delivery functional consultant. Okay, then you've got documentation for requirements and mapping documents. So as I said, while you're starting the project implementation cycle, a functional consultant will work with the business users to gather the requirements and then to document them. And then after the requirements have been documented, they are prioritized, and based on the priority of those requirements, he will then go and map those requirements to Oracle applications functionality. And requirements that cannot be mapped into Oracle applications are categorized as gaps, which is where workarounds or technical solutions are worked in conjunction with the technical team and with the approval of the business team. Fine. So that's where a number of documents goes into picture. So one document is for capturing the requirement, one document is for mapping those requirements and capturing the gaps, and one document is for the Oracle solution. So what is the future process flow in terms of the Oracle functionality and what the business is looking for, then identifying gaps. So gaps goes into one separate document and so on, and then the solution of those gaps goes into custom functional solution, and then a functional solution, once it is technically designed and developed, then to test those customizations, test scenarios will come into picture. So test scenarios, so the test scenarios means here is not only testing the custom Oracle solution that's been provided, but also the end-to-end application functionality and testing the entire business process flow into Oracle applications, whether that works or not, along with the customized solution. So one level of test are done by functional consultant. The second level of tests are done by dedicated testers. Third level of tests are done by the users themselves. So the third level of tests which are done by the users are also called as user acceptance testing, or UAT, which is usually the final phase prior to going live, as you could see over here. Okay, so let's go back to our slate, and I'm gonna come out of this and make a new one, and I'm going to list out quickly what are the different categories of functional consultant that we understood. So the first one is, as I said, I'm going to write it over here, a pre-sales functional consultant. Okay, and the second one is a implementation functional consultant. And the third one, and this person is also called as a delivery functional consultant. Okay, the second one, so I'm going to write it in bracket. The third one is a integration functional consultant. I'm going to just say the same thing. So a integration functional consultant is an extended role of this functional consultant. Okay, what I have written as implementation. So assuming that if this guy is too busy, which is usually the case in large project, it will be delegated to a separate functional consultant to integrate Oracle applications with other applications, other internal or external applications. So for that, a mapping activity is required with Oracle applications and with those internal or external applications to transfer in and out the data from and to Oracle applications, which is where the integration functional consultant will come into picture to map the data with Oracle applications tables with those other internal or external applications. Fine. Now then you have a testing functional consultant. Usually this role is having a very low probability, and I have not seen this role very often because this role is usually performed by testers, but in certain project I have also seen this role. So you can see that this could be like a ad hoc role, it's not a dedicated role. And then the last person who comes in this role are a support functional consultant, and this is, as I said, will come into picture on BAU activity or business as usual activity. So these are in short the areas that you could potentially think about Oracle functional consultant. The first one over here, pre-sales functional consultant, usually people don't call as a pre-sales functional consultant, they simply call them as pre-sales consultants or pre-sales solution architects. But this guy, as far as my knowledge goes, is an expert functional consultant or an expert solution architect who gives a high-level business solution to the business team. In fact, he is the one who is responsible for making the sale of Oracle applications and works closely with the sales team to get the contract finalized for an implementation or an upgrade project.